What's up, everybody, and welcome to another epic conversation. My name is Erika Patrice, and I am your host today. And today's topic is bounce back, the bounce back. If you have been living over 5 minutes because of life, circumstances, and situations, I'm sure that you've had to bounce back a couple of times. Today, I have a very special guest, a friend that's been I've been knowing her for over 20 years. We met in college. And I think that this conversation is going to be absolutely amazing because sometimes, even though we know in our mental that we have to bounce back, sometimes it helps us to see someone who has bounced back. And today's guest has definitely bounced back through adversity, through a lot of life situations and circumstances. She's had to bounce back, and boy, did she bounce back. Wait until you hear from her today. Our special guest is Charmayne Wilson. And I am super excited about this opportunity to have this epic conversation with her. You guys know the routine. Invite somebody, tell somebody, call somebody, and let them know that the epic conversation is back. And we are talking about the bounce back today. Again, thank you so much, Charmayne, for joining us. What's up, girl?
What's up? Oh my gosh. 20 years? Woo.
Girl, that's we telling our age, but I think we both look amazing. And
Absolutely.
as I spoke to the audience before we started, today we are talking about the bounce back. So if I had to ask you, Charmayne, what does it mean to bounce back? What would you say?
I think it means that, no matter what life throws at you, because life happens to all of us, just having the ability to come back from anything, that there's nothing too hard for God and there's nothing too hard for me, you know? And so, my goodness, how many times, even as a woman, you know, have we had to overcome? My dad told me when we were young, Charmaine, when you go out into the world, you got two things against you: you're black and you're a woman, and so
Wow,
there are built-in obstacles that happen to all of us,
that's good.
but one thing about being a woman, we know how to bounce back. We know how to come back.
I think bouncing back for me means that I reset myself to where I was before whatever happened. It
Oh,
is a
good.
mindset. A bounce back. When you think of the word bounce, you thinking about going back and forth. But for me, bouncing back is okay, this threw me off. So let me go back to where I was before this threw me off. And let me reflect on where I went wrong. And let me go back to this start and then start over because God is really, really comedic. When we bounce back from things and we don't heal from what we bounce back from, we have a tendency to repeat that cycle. So for me, bouncing back means that I want to bounce back, but when I come back, I want to be better and not bitter.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's so good.
talk about that because when life throws, uh uh marriage, divorce, single mom, kids. Now I'm having to figure out how I'm going to do what I'm going to do. It is easy to have that mindset of, I can't believe this it did this to me, and and you develop a little bit of bitterness because you're trying to figure out how, who, when, and how do you differentiate and move past the bitter stage? Because if truth be told, that is a stage of bouncing back. You're gonna be, if you want to just tell the truth, you're gonna be bitter because that you're a human being. So how do you move from that bitter, angry stage to being better?
That's so good. One of the things that I've adopted over the years is that I am nobody's victim. That
Wow.
God built me and in his building me from the very beginning, he's given me choices. And so whether, you hurt me or you did something to me, the first thing I'm going to do is look at myself. The first person I'm going to do is say, okay, what did I allow? Where did I compromise, to
Mm.
allow myself to get in this position? Because it's taking your power back. Even if they did it, even if there was malice intent when they did it. You know what I mean? Nothing takes God by surprise. Nothing takes him. And a lot of times there are always, ladies, there's always signs. Sometimes we ignore them.
Most times.
Most times, because we feel we're fixers. We feel like we can fix people, fix situations. If we adjust ourselves, if we twist ourselves, if we make ourselves different, then maybe we can fix the situation. But what I have found is that you're not going to put me in a position as an adult that I didn't allow you to put me in. And so, like you said, with the bounce back, if I allowed you to put me in that position, then I can take me out. Get excited.
Come on.
I have the power to take myself out of that position.
Mm-hmm.
And I never forget, because I've been divorced for a long time, right? And so, and the journey, the divorce was a lot easier to get over for me than the crap after it. The taking care of the kids, the trying to communicate, those were that was the more difficult part for me. And so, because I had an expectation, of somebody that I probably shouldn't have had an expectation of. And so what I did was I said, you know what? I'm gonna stop being mad and I'm gonna take responsibility for the whole thing. And wherever we end up, wherever me, because I'm a single mom, I have two boys, wherever we end up is gonna be a result of the work that I put in. And whatever anybody else does is gonna be extra. And
Wow.
see, that was empowering to me because it allowed me to tap into a source that was waiting for me the whole time. Because
Mm-hmm.
God knows the end from the beginning. So he knew where the marriage was going to end, and he knew these two young men were going to come out of it, and he
Mm-hmm.
already put inside of me what I needed to
Right.
survive and then to thrive. So
Wow.
he knows the end from the beginning. So whatever any of my girlfriends, anybody that's on here, you're going through, nothing takes God by surprise. And so he puts in us, the ability. The Bible says that he's dealt to us a measure of faith,
Right.
and so sometimes, even in the midst of the hardest seasons, he'll flash what he's getting ready to do before you,
Mm-hmm.
right? He'll
Mm-hmm.
show you a glimpse of what's possible if you
Mm-hmm.
stay the course and if you work, and if you, and even Jesus. And I always talk about the Bible, y'all. Please forgive me for that, because I
Girl,
don't
don't
know.
don't say
I don't
forgive you. Talk.
listen, because I don't know any way to make it. I never would have made it without these types of revelations. But the Bible talks about when Jesus died on the cross, he didn't see the immediate results
Mm-mm.
of what he was dying for. But
Right.
the Bible says, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross,
Mm-hmm.
despising the shame, everything that was happening to him. He saw me, he saw you, he saw that we would receive his salvation and have a better life
Right.
thousands of years later. And so if God will give him a glimpse of thousands of years later, he'll give you a glimpse of tomorrow.
I do know that we have different women um that are that have experienced different things.
Yeah.
So let's try to dissect this. Um when we meet whomever, whatever, at whatever point in life, you have expectations of that individual, and our stories, it's really funny because our stories are parallel, because um we both kind of, we met during the time kind of after marriage, and during I think I had just had Jaden, if I'm not mistaken. And we kind of journeyed through some things, um, ignoring, the signs and some of the conversations that we would have as two young wives. Even then, you wouldn't have been able to pay me to believe that a lot of times when a person divorces you, they subconsciously divorce their children. And that's really, it's really something that it doesn't have to happen, but it does take a certain level of maturity. It does take a certain level of ownership. Like, we're past us being together. Now, what do we need to do to come together and be adult and do what we need to do for these kids? And I know for me, and you can talk about this as well, I personally took on the guilt of someone else's actions or lack of action in my
Yeah.
case. And it made me as a mother sometimes overcompensate and overdo, and then, oh, they your kids spoil. But I was trying to, they didn't choose their parents, I did. So I was trying to fix something that I felt that I had wronged. But it was over time that I had to begin to, get the revelation that I am only responsible for my actions. It is my responsibility. Two people made a choice to marry, two people made a choice to go their separate ways. However, these children are kind of dangling in the middle. Now, I don't know about your story, and I'll give you a chance to say that. But in the beginning, it was amicable. It was okay, you come this week, I come that week. But then as time, started to go on, it kind of started to pull away. And that's when stuff that I thought I was over resurfaced. And I got mad as hell all over again, because I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening here? Where you at?
Listen.
What Jennifer Hudson say? Where you at? Where you at? Real talk. Where you at? So how did you move from? And I'm sure I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I know most women experience this sort of grieving the situation because of the effect on the children. How did you navigate through that without being negative in front of the kids about the other parent?
There's a couple of things. So my mom, because my parents divorced, and my mom always taught us, never say anything bad about your dad. Never, always.
Mm-hmm.
And our relationship with our dad got better as we became adults.
Okay.
And so, um, for so I kind of thought, I was never, we didn't have, we and my children's father, to be honest, we do not have communication at all. I would text, there would be no answers, and he, they'd say you teach people how to treat you. He taught me not to ask him for anything. He taught me not to reach out to him. He taught me not to say anything to him. And so once I got the boys' phones, they, I kind of had to let them communicate. Then he moved away after about 2 years, 2.5 years, to a whole nother state, and had a whole nother life. And so where we started off with, because we went to court, and we did everything. And I suggest that for anybody that is going through a divorce, let the court speak for you. Let them talk for you, so that, and get everything in writing,
Right.
so that there's a reference point. There is nothing wrong with having a court ordered child support. Don't let, in our Black community, we make people feel bad about that. But sometimes that's the only thing that men and women respect, is what they're made to do. Okay. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's real talk. So that we, even to this day, I mean, through graduation, through college, there's no communication. So that's
Jesus.
that's my reality, and I don't mind sharing that with people because it's just the truth, number one. And number two, it kind of helps you understand why I've created such a community on Facebook and other things about single parenting. Because one of my good girlfriends, when I first got divorced, and Mary Kay, and she said, Charmaine, she said now, because she had boys too, and her boys were, about probably 10 years older than my boys. She said, she said there will be some communication, but it'll never be good. She said, so don't rely on it. And so I said, okay. But what I did was I pulled in the community of my family with
Mm.
what was, and the only leverage I had was um, what the courts made us do. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So
Mm-hmm.
thankfully we had that conversation. So though that person moved away, that was still something that was able to hold him accountable for the most part.
Right.
So it takes the emotion out of it. There's no I don't have any expectation of my children's father other than I believe he loves the boys. I believe he cares about them, but out of sight, out of mind. Honestly, truthfully. Um, that's just the truth. It happens. I think I'm a mother of two very talented kids. And they can tell their own story about
Yeah.
the parental involvement and stuff.
Yeah.
But what I tried to do through my family, through my dad, through my mom, my sisters, is create an environment that plug in the holes because that
Yeah.
distance was so great. So it's not to rag on anybody or make anybody feel bad because I don't care. You know what I mean? The truth is the truth, and sometimes people want you to edit your truth to make them feel
Mm.
comfortable because they like a person, they love a person. That was a jerk
Right.
to you. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
But that doesn't mean you're being negative or bitter.
Right.
It's just the reality is the truth. You know,
Absolutely.
and we're taught as women to cover up our emotions and cover other people. Now, I'm not gonna run your name in the streets. I'm not gonna say this, that, or the other, but I know that it's more beneficial for us to have this
Mm-hmm.
conversation for women that are suicidal, going
Right.
through this every day, feeling alone, feeling I remember feeling I remember feeling helpless. And that
You
is
know
being
why? Because, like, I want to make sure I say this the right way. I think that the cookie cutter, I'm trying to be careful. The cookie cutter image of what things are supposed to be, I really don't feel as though the people and places that we depended upon to tell us real talk and give us reality, I think they failed us. I know for
oh yeah.
me, um, I put aside not how I felt, but what I knew, what I had hardcore proof. I put that to the side because I was so fearful of what the church would say. I was so fearful of, more so of anybody in the world. I was fearful of my grandmother. My grandmother was devoutly holy, sanctified. But as a child, well, as an adult, I knew my grandmother had two different, well, she had one baby daddy, but she had another husband. So I was like, wonder why they want to tell us not to do, think certain things. But then but I dare not say that to her. But we there are not enough conversations like this.
There
There are
was
not, and
there
the
was
place
no
that
one.
we go to most, I'm not telling the church to preach about divorce, but I am saying tell us how to make it beyond divorce. Tell us to how to navigate parenthood, especially if I had two girls, I think it would have been easy peasy. But I have one of each. And there are things that, most people will say, a girl needs their mama. No, boo. A girl needs their mother, but they also need their father because later in life they'll experience having boyfriends, and because that picture or that image or that teaching, I can teach her as much as I can, but there are certain things that only a father can do for a daughter. Let's not even
I
start to
I
talk about
totally I
let's not even talk
totally agree.
about the sons.
Yeah.
And I think that because of the fact that we have been made to feel like we are, like it's demonic or we got a spirit on us because we are using our voice. No, I mean there's a way to
Or
do it.
we're I think my label was I was bitter, you know. And so I I and I remember, and like I said, this I've been divorced for a long time, you know. And so it's literally taken me this long to speak on it, because my heart is not to be offensive to people, but what I found out was people are going to be offended, because the people that need to hear these types of conversations are much that number is greater than the few people that will get angry because that's their friend, whatever, all of that stuff. And so it's taken me 14 years to be okay with offending a few to reach the many. You know what I mean? And it's
I think
unfortunate.
it's important though
It
because
mm-hmm.
the few people, offense is a choice.
Yeah.
Let's say that
Yeah.
offense is a choice. And so in my conversation, especially in my situation and your situation, you know we kind of grew up in Tuscaloosa, so
Mm-hmm.
everybody knew who everybody, you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And so um when you return back to homecoming, of course people are going to say, well, where is, oh, we're not whatever. But it's never to bash. And a lot of people in my case, um because they were involved already and they knew of what, kind of the back behind the scenes, I can call names of people who immediately stepped in to become a village, especially for Jaren. um like immediately,
Yeah. I
to
have
try
I
to
have
fill
a
in that difference.
I have a core group of guys in my life. My both of my sons have amazing godparents.
Mm.
Um, I just found out he sent him some money. They sent him some money the other day. Didn't tell me, but anyway, they have amazing godparents, and then I have a core group of guys that have helped both of my children. So one of my children is really gifted in singing and music and stuff like that. And
Is
I
he?
didn't want him I wanted him to have real men in his life that can kind of help him track that road. And then my other son, who is into sports and stuff, I have a text group of guys that help me get him in sports. That I text him and I'll say, hey, guys, this is what's going on with him, or hey, he need help with some equipment or stuff. So I have that village, and then of course my number one village is my family. There's not a need that either one of my children have that if I need something I can't. There are people. So and that's why I can't be bitter, because
Mm-mm.
God sets the solitary in your family. He knows how to fill the gaps. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's why we can bounce back, because I remember when Judah and Kai, my sons, were 3 and 4 when I divorced, and I divorced the day after Valentine's Day, right? So my court date was that day, and I came home. I came home by myself, and I threw up. I just vomited everywhere. And one of my friends, she said, "I want you to play Patti LaBelle. It's a New Day," and she played it over and over and over again. And
Not
so,
Patty.
yes, Patty. So I played it, and so
We had
um,
a Patty.
I prayed, because I'm like your grandma. I'm Pentecostal, so we thought divorce was a sin. I'm going to hell.
Girl.
I mean, my life is over. God's never gonna love me again. I'm going through this by myself, because my friends are still married, and I don't want to talk to them about what I'm going through, and then they're trying to pick whose side, and all this crap.
Mm-mm.
So I talked to the Lord, I literally, and He gave me Isaiah 54, and I read that whole scripture over and over again. I'm writing a book on an expository on Isaiah 54, and then but the other thing He did, I said, God, what should I do? What should I do? Because I felt like he was a better parent. I thought he was better at taking care of the kids when we were together. He just
Mm-hmm.
seemed to know what to do. He had raised his brothers, stuff like that. I felt like I didn't have those skills. And the
Wow.
Lord said to me, He said, "You are qualified to raise them because I qualified you." And that was about the boys. And then I opened the Bible that same day, and my eyes fell on three words, and it was "let him go." And the vomiting was me releasing him and taking on the mantle and the mantra of leading my family. And
Yeah.
I became the leader of the
Yeah.
family.
And the thing about it, because sometimes when people have conversations, especially on social media, it's for cloud and it's for likes. But I was there. I remember the you know the working part of it. Let's move into that part about being a single parent and having to bear, because you know what, just because the court mandates someone to be financially responsible, that's about it. They can mandate it and it will take years and years for you to find out where they're working. I got tired of doing all that. I'm not finna keep tracking you down. Then when they start taking the money out, you quit that job. I ain't got time for that. So I got to the point where I said, you know what? I have always been a hard worker. I remember this was, I don't even want to even verbally even admit, but this was before Jaden was born. And because I will say it, because somebody needs to know, it is not, I don't know what Bible we were reading, but y'all, let me tell you how much influence my grandmother had. When she found out we got divorced, I mean, she was slanging all, she was hot. And I'm telling her, but grandmama, I don't care, Erica. That's your husband. So let me tell you how dumb I was. Because of her teaching and because I value, she found a scripture and she told me, if you marry anybody else, it would have to be him. So I remarried the same person who had done all of these things because I thought biblically that it was the right thing to do. But please know and believe that there is life after. The bounce back after divorce, after losing your job, after losing your home, losing your car, the bounce back after all of those things happen, if you navigate through it, if you pass the test and go through it without negativity, without bitterness, the reward. Let's talk about the reward. I remember Charmayne saying, "Hey, inboxing, I need you to buy such and such because I got to reach my goal for Mary Kay. I saw you struggling, but guess what? I also saw you. Did you get a Cadillac?
Pink Cadillac, girl.
Oh, okay. So
XT6.
talk to us about not, it's important for us to navigate through how we got here, but how, let's talk about the other side. Let's talk about the bounce back. How gratifying it has been for you to be a positive example for your boys. How integral it was for you to have to sometimes go in your room and close the door and be like, Lord, I got this, and this due. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but not transfer that to them. Talk to us about the actual bounce back that happened for you.
There have been a lot of bounce backs. I mean, the Pink Cadillac is one of the more recent ones. But man, just doing what I love to do, getting paid to sing, that was a dream of mine. And you were instrumental. I When I went to work for the worship center, I worked there for 5 years, and that was a dream come true. I was able to relocate my family, put them in a school system that I loved, that they love, and both of them are prospering because of the choices I was able to make, because I took a chance on my gift. I took a chance on myself.
You
And
was kicking and
then,
screaming though.
huh,
You was kicking and screaming.
listen, it was hard, but I did it.
I remember, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I have to tell them this.
You were there.
I saw a job announcement for a worship leader. And I knew what you were dealing with. I knew what you were journeying through. And I remember contacting you and saying, I think you should. And you gave me a whole list of
I
names that were
did.
better than you. And I kept saying, no, you apply. No, you do it. You can do it. And I remember the very day you inboxed me and you said 3 words: I got it. I think I was more excited for you than I probably would have been for my own self, because you know how I think it's a scripture that says, I've seen your struggle. I saw it. I knew it. And I knew what that kind of opportunity, not having to wait on sales to be able to know your bill is going to get paid. Then Mary Kay, instead of it being something that you like had to be laborious over, that was gravy on top. And if you notice, when that was in place, Mary Kay just started coming,
It
coming, and coming.
became it became different.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked my whole life, but I've never worked on anything that I loved. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
I love to sing. I love to lead worship. You know, because I didn't think that anybody wanted me. I had
Wow.
worked, I had sang in ministry for years, almost 18 years, never even getting $1. You know,
Mm-hmm.
and so I didn't know people would pay me. I mean, that's just intrinsically. I didn't know, and so and I love Mary Kay paid the bills. Mary Kay was amazing. It's always been amazing. When I need something, Mary Kay is awesome. But my gift is music. My gift is leading people in worship. My gift is ministry. That's my
Mm-hmm.
gift. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that's where I am most effective. You
Right.
know, and so I needed that win to be confident in the area of Mary Kay. Mary Kay is not a struggle for me because I'm confident. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? No, you could tell me no today. I'll be like, okay, next. You know what I mean? Because I've seen myself great. I've seen
Right.
myself, as this amazing, gift. And so
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times and to stay on topic, sometimes the life comes to strip you of your confidence,
Mm-hmm.
and that divorce stripped me because let me tell you, I came to Tuscaloosa a bad mamma jamma, okay? I had a little waistline, I was cute, okay?
You
I could
still cute.
sing and I could preach, okay? So I came with something,
Yeah.
and that whole situation, the weight gain, being a parent, being a single parent, and being feeling unloved stripped me,
Wow.
and so God used my gifts, my talents, and my business to rebuild me. I would not have the faith level that I have if it wasn't for Mary Kay.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have had the courage to go in there against the people I went in there against to get that job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, they got this person coming, that person coming.
And I
There's no
told you to get
way.
off my phone. I don't care who they got coming. And I don't speak often. If I call you and I say, "Hey, I really believe," trust me, I don't. My father, rest his soul, but one of the things that he embedded in me was, don't waste your words. And sometimes even now I catch myself, because talking about stuff that I can't change, or stuff that is irrelevant, or just idle chatter, or things that I'm just talking out of my own head. But we don't even talk on the phone like that. But I looked you up and I said, hey, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
And we have to also understand seasons. Whether it was for a season for you to be in that position, it set your children up for what is now. Black kids ain't just going to Berkeley School of
Saints and
Music.
friends. Okay.
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 I'm just being honest. And I followed your son's journey, even your youngest baby. Black people live in Hoover now and play for the Hoover Bucks, but baby, that wasn't always the case. So everything, if all things work together for good was a person, I believe it definitely would be Charmayne, because I have
Listen,
seen an entire metamorphosis. Now, you had me scared a couple of days ago when you was like, I'm taking my last name back. I was like, oh Lord. But you know what?
it's been in my heart.
I had to go back and read the comments. And I believe that with you releasing that, because your name is who you're called, releasing that was the final chapter. And ladies, everybody heals differently. You said that you were divorced 14 years and you just got to the point where you said, I'm ready to release this name and I'm ready to become myself again. A lot of people, everybody heals differently. Everybody, so we don't want to make you feel like, oh my Lord, I'm gonna be here 14 years. That was Charmayne's journey. Because
And
for me,
it's funny because my girlfriend, her name is Kimberly Letman. She inboxed me, and I had just had this conversation with Kai because I told the boys I would keep the name until they graduated. Well, Kai's graduating in 6 months. And I said, Kai, I had just had the conversation with him last week. I said, do you think it's okay that I go back to Wilson? And he said, yeah, Mom, that's fine. I said, I love you. I'm not leaving you hanging, because that's how I looked at it.
yeah,
But I need me back.
girl.
So that was last week. My girlfriend, Kimberly Letman, inboxed me the day before, or the day I released the name, and said, God is telling me to tell you that she asked me, she said, she asked me some questions first. She said, God is telling me to tell you, you need to go ahead and drop that last name. She said, because that's keeping away some things that God wants to give you. Because some people still think you're married. And I thought, that makes so much sense. But her timing was crazy because I had just had the conversation with Kai. I had just started looking up what it would take for me to get my business, everything into my name, because I do want to make my father's name great. I'm the firstborn in my household.
Me too. Me too.
And so, and then, see, I might cry a little bit. But I know, and what my dad has done for me, the fact that, because we didn't start, when my parents divorced, it was rocky for a minute. But through this, I said, I would rather undergird his name, with the things that God has invested in me, for what he's been for my sons, for the voice that he's been. Because this journey, like, it's hard. It's hard on my boys. It's been hard on my youngest son, just wanting to be successful in football. That's hard. It is. Anybody that I know, we post the successes, but we don't post the times that me and Kai have stayed up all night praying.
My God.
I listened. Last night at midnight, my son is in his room praying. And because he wants to be great at something. And I don't like parents that try to shut their kids off when they're trying to do something great. You know what I mean? I told him,
it's important.
You put all your expectations on God. Do everything you need to do, but put all of your expectations on God. And the fact that he's praying at 17 lets me know that I did something right.
Yes. And the needing you back, there are probably a lot of women. You can be married and lose yourself. So I don't want y'all to think that marriage is the
Right.
solution. You could be married and be completely lost. You can be single and be lost. You could be divorced. So this conversation is Charmayne's interpretation, but putting it all in perspective for all women, having you is very important. And whether you're married, single, it is, when you're married, it's two people becoming one, but it's still two people. And it is so important to always be able to identify you in the whole mess of life. It is so important. And the the um the caviar of coming into yourself. There is no certain age, there's no certain socioeconomic status. You have to work at, especially when you've lost yourself, you have to work really hard to get that back. But baby, once you get it, it's like flashing lights.
And you know
I
what?
can't go back.
Right, because I lost myself long before the marriage. You
Yeah.
know what I
And if
mean?
you got to be honest, you could easily
Exactly.
put
So
it on.
it's not, that's why that's that personal responsibility piece.
Hmm.
Because we're taught, and our young girls, and I pray for our young girls because they are being taught um to do all kinds of things to make themselves available in relationships for
Mm-mm.
men. And I don't know who God has for me. I know that I'll remarry. I know that there's someone else for me. But what I do know is that he has to be okay with 100% Charmaine. Because I am not, I'm not diminishing myself for another person. Do you understand? That doesn't mean I don't love you. It doesn't mean that I can't submit all that stuff. But you're gonna get me full. You're gonna get the whole. You're gonna get 100% absolute. You're gonna get all the vodka. Okay, when it comes, because you gotta be able to take it.
Yeah.
And if you can't, then this is not the place you need to be. God bless.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would much rather be alone. And I want to talk to women about that. I would much rather be alone than be something God didn't create. You
Absolutely.
know, I will listen. I will take me and all my money to the grave if it means
But
I have to
but
do less than.
as much as people feel like, oh, Erica, you do so much and you do what people witnessed me accomplish was strictly me. I did not have support. So that's why I'm saying don't always assume that marriage is the solution, because I was married and still bearing a lot of the load by myself. I was married and still did not have support. But once you find yourself and then you mess around and link up with somebody who is supportive, who is not intimidated, I know I'm a lot. Like I'm and I'm not a lot as far as materialistic things. Like I don't care about name brand purses and stuff. I'm a lot as in if you tell me we're leaving at 1, I gotta start getting ready at 10 because I mean, I like to look a certain way. I like to carry myself. And so for some people, that's a lot. But it feels so I can't even explain it. And I'm thinking, a lot of people say, well, you were successful but I'm telling you, I know you could change your name and spend the money all you want to. But we're gonna save this epic conversation, and I guarantee you, your name won't be Wilson Long. You are going to come in contact with somebody who is not intimidated, who is going to get the full gamut of who you are, and not mean that you're going to have a takeover spirit. And I believe you know how to be submissive, but being
Absolutely.
submissive does not, I will not intertwine being submissive for losing myself. And I did that before and
Yeah.
I can't. So I will, let me warn you ladies, that when you find that part of you and you become that independent person, when you find someone that wants to spend life with you, please don't take them through the hell and the residue of what was left from the previous person.
Right.
Don't do that. Don't
Right.
punish your present for your past.
Right. I agree. This thing about healing, um, I, I, people throw that out a lot. Well, you need to heal before you do this or this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
I want people to embrace who they are today.
Mm-hmm.
And
Healed or not.
exactly, and take that person, to God in prayer. Find you something fun to do. Do something that brings you joy. You know, my friend Tim Harris, he's the one that told me early on. He said, Charmaine, take your expectations off people. put it on God. And
Mm.
I I carried that. I mean, it's probably been 10 years since he told me that. But I
Wow.
carried that. And I have found that when I say, because people, I've hurt people, right? I've said things, I've done things that has hurt somebody or wounded someone. So everybody has the capacity to hurt other people, you know?
Absolutely.
And so when we understand that we are forgiven much, forgiveness becomes easier for others. But
Mm-hmm.
healing sometimes means just, hey, today I'm just telling myself the truth. I don't want to deal with you because you triggered something. Therefore, I'm going to shut you out,
Yeah.
and I'm going to give you to God, and then I'm going to figure out how I can turn off whatever you do that turns this part of me on. You know,
Wow.
it has everything to do with I have a healthy relationship with my thoughts, and I have a healthy relationship. I'm very honest with myself.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
that's key. Well, we have today talked about bouncing back, and again, I will tell you in front of everyone, I am super proud of the process, and the reintroduction, the reinvention of the Charmayne. Because when I met you, your name was Charmayne Wilson. So it
it
is
was.
so good to meet you again, Charmayne Wilson. And this is just one of the testimonies, or one of the people that I have personally watched reinvent themselves. And speaking of reinventing, we are having a masterclass on October 15th, entitled Reinventing Your Business. And I don't want you guys to get stuck and think that we're only talking about business, because you cannot reinvent your business without making some reinventions to yourself. The tickets are only $20, and they are on sale now. After October 1st, they will go up slightly. So go ahead and grab your tickets. If you are enjoying the epic conversation that we are doing, please give us feedback. But please also go and sign up for the masterclass. It is virtual, so you don't have to worry about getting your temperature checked. You don't have to worry about leaving your home. It's going to be personable, interpersonal, interpersonal, and it's going to be very intimate, and I can't wait to see you there. Listen, this is going to wrap up another edition of Epic Conversations, and y'all, we have many more conversations lined up for you. For those of you who shop with us, you know that we'll be on at 2 o'clock, but I have another epic conversation tonight, talking about from going from trial to triumph. So today is all about overcoming. We've talked about bouncing back, and tonight we're going to be talking to my dear brother Cassius. Sorry, let me put some respect on his name, Councilman Cassius Lanier, another person who I've been friends with for a long time, and I have seen him overcome adversity, and now he is in a triumphant place. And so I'm super excited about that conversation this evening at 8 o'clock. So I will see you then. Thank you all so much for joining. And again, please give us feedback. Tell your friends, tell somebody else about the epic conversation. Again, we'll be back at 2 o'clock for Jazz and Jewelry. So I hope I see some of you there. Bye.